After years of delay, in honor of NaNoWriMo 2024, I finally decided to write my fantasy romance novel, or at least I made an attempt to. November came and went, and what started out as a 90,000 words novel became 120,000 words, or at least I made an attempt. At the start of 2025, I decided I didn't like the direction the novel was taken, or rather, I didn't quite like the plot. So, without a second thought, I deleted what was almost 30,000 words and decided to rewrite my novel, which actually started on my birthday. Once again, I didn't like the plot or the direction, so here we are again, hopefully for the last time. So, yes, I am rewriting my novel for the second time. And the reason why I'm rewriting is this book was supposed to be about all the things I love in a fantasy world, which is werewolf and dragons and vampires. And it didn't have any dragons because at the time I had this fear that now whenever you write any books about dragon, the first thing people want to do is to just try to put it in the same bracket with Fort Ring, and I really love Fort Ring. And then I read Aragon, which has exist like I remember watching Aragon as a child, and I realized that dragons have been done long before Fort Ring, and that was, I think, the motivation that I needed. So I'm rewriting my book to include dragons because I love dragons. Also, my main girl was she doesn't have any power, and that's a big part of the story. But I put her in the human faction, and as a human, you'd expect her not to have any power. And so I decided that putting her in the witch faction would make more sense. It would weigh more because a lot of people will be looking at her because since she'll be the only witch ever to exist without powers. The only witch. So I think it weighs more if she's a witch without power versus a human without power because humans don't have power in my world. So those are just a few things that I want to do. Also, the first time I wrote this back in when I started writing in November, I did not do any world. I did world building, but it wasn't a lot because I kept all of it in my brain. I actually want to put it on paper now, so I'm gonna go through all my world building. I'm gonna add, and also I'm gonna have to add because it was four factions, so it's gonna be five. So I'm gonna have to do like the dragon, and I'm gonna have to work on folklore and all of that. Love like I don't know. I think I love world building and creating characters and magic system more than I love writing. I'm a liar. I love everything. I love everything that goes into writing, like especially the research and all of that. Okay. So there won't be elves in my story, but however, I'm obsessed with elf ears. So I'm gonna find a way to incorporate that into my lore because I like to have like when I make lore, I like it to make sense. Like I am that I like ask why because why do witches have powers? Because so and so. Why do so? That's me. So I've said enough, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna start working on my world. So I kind of started off with a light world building. I wanted to integrate the dragons into my world. However, they're actually I decided that I want them to be like dragon shifters. I think that's really cool. So they're able to like transform into these big magical beasts, and then they can de-transform or whatever into human, which I think that gives them a lot more power versus if I was just to use like dragon. So I'm gonna do like a whole dragon shifter. I think I like that whole idea more. Also, there isn't a lot of world building that needs to be done surrounding the dragons because they're outcasts, and I can't say a lot without spoiling major parts of the plot, but they're not integrated into society as much as we would like, because they're like on the hierarchy. Like years ago or centuries ago they would have been at the top and then vampires, but somewhere along the line they're at the very bottom, to the point where they're, in terms of status, they are below humans. So there isn't a lot of world building that needs to be done. However, I don't know if I have mentioned that I had like created a I'm a spiritual person, so I had created like a belief system. It's not based on any like real religion. I created a god, and then I create belief systems based on the different factions. So first it was four, now it's five. So like a part of the vampire's belief system, and normally when I read like vampire novels or something, vampires are never really religious. And I've watched, except like the only time I've ever watched anything with a religious vampire was when I watched Shadowhunters. What's his name was very he was, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Raphael. He came from a Catholic family, which I think it is refreshing. I find it like when how long religion has existed, I find it hard to believe that there has never been any religious vampire. So I wanted to integrate that into my world. So vampires believe that the god was a vampire, and that's why he basically bestowed them with their powers. They also, which is very ironic, as time progresses. So also they also believe that the sun is their god's enemy, which is why they burn in sunlight. Werewolf believe that the god was like a moon god, which is why they're children of the moon, which is believed that the god was a powerful witch, which is how they got their gifts. Human believe that the god is a god of everything, land, trees, everything, while the dragons believe that the god is a god of fire, which is why he had blessed them with the being children, fire children. So basically like that. I've also, since peace is a big thing in the world, I've also went ahead and added in like peace laws for the dragons, because I had like peace laws for all the other like factions. So like a law for vampires is that they're not supposed to go around like biting humans unprovoked, kind of like that. Also, there is occupation in my world where as a human you can be a human feeder, so I went ahead and made some requirements for that. Also, there is this belief where the religious vampires have that to feed, to consume blood is basically to acknowledge the morality of life, which I just made that. Or I think that's just really, really dope. So that's what I spent my day doing. Like in terms of world building and adding in the dragons to my world, I'm basically done. So I'm gonna go do my nails. I bought some nails online. I'm gonna go do some press-on nails because I haven't done my nails since my birthday, which is over a month ago. So I'm gonna go do that and listen to a book. So it is the next day, and I do have a few things that I do want. Okay, these are my nails. I was like, I spent like 8 hours doing these yesterday. So, in terms of world building, we are done with the world building aspect. However, I just feel like I need to say that whenever I do world building, I try not to, if you, okay, so it depends. Are you writing 10 books? Is everything in your world gonna be a part of the story? If not, then just the world building for the things that you will mention, like the food. It won't be mentioned until halfway through the book. I have enough time to sit down and create what type of food I want my people to basically eat. So I won't be spending like any more time in terms of like world building. Sorry, I touched my camera, my tripod. So I also won't be like, in terms of like the clothing that is mentioned in my world, there's most of the stuff that are accustomed to the world or specific to the world won't be mentioned until the piece day, which is the middle of my book. So I'm not gonna focus on any of that, because if I was to sit down and focus on all of that, I don't think this book will ever be finished. So that's all we're gonna do for world building. I just needed to add, as I said yesterday, the stuff about the dragon. Also, I also named where all my cities have names. So in this world, even though there is a whole piece, they're separated in four. It was four first, but now it's five faction slash race. So race, like in the reverse, race goes by like your ethnicity. In my world, it just goes by your species. So if you're a witch, that's your race, so on and so forth. So all of them, they, even though they live its piece, they're not integrated. They have their own little cities on that continent, because it's three continents. So the humans live where I named the free city of Snamu. Snamu is basically humans. It's backwards. I thought that was really cool. And where the witches live, I named that the Dorn of Featherthorn, because the oldest witch is Featherthorn. So she basically owns, like, she's also like the white high priestess. So where the wolves live is called the Isle of Claridge, the oldest, only purebred wolf family, very powerful. They're the Claridge. And then where the vampires live, I call it the Kingdom of Iker, because they're at the top of the hierarchy, and they're also like they're kind of like royalty-ish. And then when I add in the dragon, since they live in the mountain, where they live is the Mount of Dragon, which is basically dragon, but I just put like like an apostrophe between the A and the G, and in bracket, like that's what it's called now. But like the dragons, like the elders in like the dragon society, it used to be the Mount of Dragonis. So that's basically still dragon. And I use like so the Latin for fire is ignis, which is Ignis. So I basically did this the dragon, and then I just add the is. It's more like I'm gonna put the word here so you like have like a better understanding. So today we're gonna do the magic system. So the magic is called resistance, and that is the regular. Put the word here. And the reason why it's called that has a lot to do with the history of the world, and I can't tell you what else will in the plot, but that's what it's called. If you know what resistance mean, then you should have an idea of why it's called that. So for the most part, I'm only working on the power that the witches have. What I haven't decided yet is if I want their power to stem from an elemental perspective. In my world, there are cause they're not consequences, but the magic has limit, basically what I'm saying. So some people who have like a certain ability, if their hands are bound, then they can't tap into that power. Some people, their magic stem from mind. Some people it's from a emotional point of view, so it's reveled by their emotion. But I still haven't decided if I want to like group the magic into like an elemental perspective, like earth, water, wind, fire. Also, dragons, they won't have any ability because they're shifters, they're in their human form. They haven't been able to transform into dragon for like centuries. Also, that's going to be revealed in the plot. Vampires have their usual abilities. However, in my world, vampires are able to bound themselves to witches, or witches are able to be bound to vampires, where they share one life force. And through that, whatever power, say a vampire is bound to a witch that can control the weather, they will get like a power that is similar and different than their witches. So say the witch can control the wind to like an extent, the vampire will be able to like control the wind to the point of creating like a thunderstorm or a tornado or something along that line, if you get what I'm saying. And werewolves are just gonna have like their normal werewolf ability. However, what I decided to do is in based on the continent that you're born on, that determines the type of your witch ability and your werewolf ability. So persons that are born on the main continent, which is what book one will be, the current book is about, they can only shift into werewolf on the full moon, or if they're triggered by anger, while people that are born on the second continent, they can part shift. Like I remember watching, I think the originals, and Haley was able to maintain her human form, but her hands she can turn her hands into wolves. So that's kind of like that. So I think that's cool. So I think I've done like enough talking for today. So we're just gonna get straight into the magic system part of today's vlog. So I was about to start working on my magic system when I realized that I missed a very crucial part of what I had planned to do yesterday in terms of world building. I forgot that I needed to do the history of all the races, because the powers that they have, or who they are right now, have a lot to do with a lot of stuff that went on like 400 to 500 years ago. Also, I totally forgot to tell you something that I have in my world building. So I don't know, like I find writing books a lot more fun when I'm making up a bunch of stuff. So in my world building, a while back, I have like historical texts for my world. I also have times which are like angels used to exist in my book. They don't really exist anymore. They're basically completely gone from the world. So I have like 4 time periods in my world. I have one that's called Before the Angels, which is just called BA. This is years ago when the god had sent angels to watch over humans. And then we have another time period that's called the Time of Angels. That's when the angels were here guarding humans. And then we have the Rise of the Vampire, which I just call ROV. That's when vampires, started enslaving humans. And then we have the Time of Enslavement, which is TOE. This is before the vampires and the humans had agreed to peace, which is why they have their peace now. And then we have the Time of Peace, which is TOP, which is 400 years after the peace agreement. So as I said earlier, a lot has happened in the last 400 years. And based on what happened over the last 400 years, that basically determined the powers that everyone has right now. Because 400 years ago, my dragon shifters were mostly dragons. They weren't humans, they were dragons. And something happened, and now they're stuck in a human form. So I'm gonna have to do that first before I can actually go ahead and work on my magic system, because although I have like a rough idea of what I want the history to be, I normally just wing it. Like I be writing and whatever comes to mind, I don't care how it doesn't make any sense. I just go with it. So I'm gonna do that, and then we are definitely gonna get into our magic system. So as it turns out, I'm definitely not done with regards to my world building. So remember I said earlier that I had like a time period of everything in my world. I still do. However, what I noticed and I'm sure you probably saw, as I was going through the history of how, everyone is how they are right now, I realized that my time periods have like, I don't know, like, I don't have like anything that happens during that time. So it's more of a like, say the era is before the angel, and I put this is known as BA, and I put this is 1,000 years before the God sent angels to live amongst human, but I don't actually put what happens during that time. And so I'm definitely now I'm definitely today is definitely not gonna be magic system day. So it is gonna be another day of world building, which I actually do love. So I'm gonna go through all the eras, and you know, based on the information that I do have or should have in my brain, I'm just gonna dump it all into their specific time periods. And also I started kind of rewatching some seasons of Blacklist, so I think I'm gonna watch some season of Blacklist also. Or no, I started reading Finale, which is the last book in the Caraval series. I'm gonna take a little break from working on this to probably read a few pages or chapters or something. So if you don't see me for the rest of the day, I will see you all tomorrow. So it's been a while since I worked on the whole replotting, re-world building, re-everything. I um I don't know if I said it, but in case I didn't, I still have some. I still the last with the I have time periods for my world, and normally the time periods I only put like what time that precedes. I didn't exactly put what happened during that time period, so that's what I'm gonna do now. I just spent some time making some YouTube videos for my reading channel, and I also yesterday I redid my nails. I basically took them off and then I added this flower. Sorry, I added this flower to it, which I think really cute. I'm gonna get some running that I don't know. I'm feeling for some not coffee because I have some. My mom got me is it Starbucks the frappuccino that comes in the bottle. So I have some of that in mocha, so I don't want to over caffeinate myself. But I might make some I might make some tea. So So I did finish my whole time period thing. I enjoyed my cup of tea. I had like a few slices of pizza and I drank my frappuccino mocha thing.
Now, also, it's pretty late and I'm a bit sleepy, so I'm gonna get some sleep. And then we only have one more thing to do before we have to work on our magic system. So I'm currently I won't be doing it tonight, but tomorrow we're gonna work on our witches. We're gonna work on my brain isn't working. We're gonna work on the history of our five factions. Um, Funny enough, um, what I think is I'm gonna work on as much history for the dragons because they're the only ones that I really don't know anything about because they're new. However, when the story is being told, or main character, she okay. So dragons are separate. They distance themselves for multiple reasons. So our main girl is not gonna know much about dragons like within the first few chapters of the book. No one's gonna know because in this world, you they have this whole scene as believing thing. So since most of them have never seen a dragon, they all think it's folklore because dragon looks like human, except that I found it really funny. I wanted dragons to have like something that you can identify them by. So dragons only have like blonde, orange, or I don't know, red hair. That's like the cue. Like other people have that hair, but that hair color is like specific to dragons because of the whole fire thing. Also, funny enough, I wanted all their names to start with D. You know, that's just something I wanted to do. So I'm gonna work on the history for all the five factions tomorrow, and then we will definitely be doing our magic system.
So it's been a while since I update my whole working on the replotting of my novel. I've been experiencing some really, really bad chest pain, and I've been listening to my doctor. I take my pain pills and I get as much rest as possible. However, yesterday I did finish the world building aspect in terms of doing the history of the factions, or I'm calling them factions slash races. So I did finish that, and I really loved how everything turned out, because while I was doing the history, I did make a few discoveries which I really love, because I like to I'm a plant store. I like details, but I like discovering as I go along. And I also did, while watching Burn Notice, I really love that series. I started working on my magic system. Uh, so I did the basic vampire gifts, and I did like a few vampires have like special ability outside of their normal gifts. And so I did like how they use this ability in terms of, is it with their mind or their hands or something else. And then I also did limit, because I believe that powers in fantasy books or fantasy world should have some limitation, because that is realistic. Everything has its limit, and that's the way I like my world. And then I did the werewolves. They just have basic gifts. And then the hardest is, because the most powerful people in this world are, of course, the witches. And I've also decided that I will not be making their power come from an elemental aspect. Reason being is the magic is called resistance, and it is called resistance for a reason. These magic came to the witches at a great time of need, and their abilities was based on what they needed more than anything. And I'm not saying like some of them have elemental gift, but some of them, in their greatest time of need, they were not thinking, I would really like to be able to control the wind, if you get my drift. So I'm not using an elemental perspective as like a guide. However, there are some magics that are generated from an elemental perspective, and witches, as I believe that there's a give and take to magic, witches do work with the elements. However, their powers are not from the elements directly, if you get what I'm saying. So I'm gonna enjoy my cup of cocoa, and I'm gonna do like writing for 30 minutes, and then I'm gonna make dinner, and then I'm gonna get back into writing. So I'm like halfway done with the magic system. And while I was working on my magic system, I it came because since I started replotting, dragons are constantly on my mind, especially since I was reading Arrogant. So I was trying to decide like if I wanted because a big part of the magic, based on how it was created, I there wouldn't have been a lot of limits, and as time progresses, we just will know exactly why there isn't a lot of limits to the magic other than the concentration and the energy resource of a witch. For witch is really tired, she can't use her magic. If for some reason she gets distracted, whatever spell or whatever incantation she was saying or whatever she was doing is not gonna work. So I'm just gonna limit that to the limit, and they use their magic by either gestures with their hands. Like I remember watching the originals, and his name is Vincent. Vincent, like if you watch it, the originals, you know, like when I think of like gesture in your hand, Vincent comes to mind. And for some of the magic, you use your mind. Now you can just use your mind without like touching anything. Some magic have to be done by touching other people, while some magic you have to like touch the side of your head or something. I don't know, but I know that using your hands is like a big part of it. Um, and so while I was doing that, I it came to my mind that I needed to know lifespan. Either I was watching something about lifespan or something about lifespan, but lifespan came into mind. And then with lifespan, I was like thinking that dragons are like the oldest creature in my book. They've been around for over 200 years. 2000. They've been around for over 2000 years. And so I did the lifespan for my dragons and the other four factions. And so I still probably when I'm in revision or sometime down the line, like probably as a part of probably in March, I'm gonna do some more. We're in March, probably in April, I'm gonna do some more replotting in terms of food, because the chapters I'm gonna write this month, I don't think I will be focusing a lot on like the customs and clothes that the people wear. So I don't want to spend my time replotting it now, because I am a moody person. Based on the direction of the book, that's how I will decide like what type of food. Like I some things I when some things some I never really fully plot any book. I'll plot like genetic stuff, but then once I start writing and I have one of those brains where I have like I'm good at vivid imagery. So when I read a book, if you say that someone has been knocked out or you describe someone, I can picture that person in my head. So what I like to do is once I start writing the book, I like to immerse myself in the world and pretend that I'm someone, like I'm like a visitor, and based on how I feel when I'm there, that's how I usually decide like what the people wear. So I'm not gonna waste my time to do that now. But yeah, with that said, I'm practically done with my magic system. And so tomorrow you can get to see how I do my character profile because I want to do also, I don't know if I told you, but I want all of my dragon people to have D name, and like I love Spanish and I love how they like to across put the tilde. That's what I my Spanish teacher said it was called, so I've always called it tilde. That's a little dash that you put over like the E. But what I like is I like names in books where there's a comma. So so I was watching this video the other day and there was this girl, her name, she was like saying like it's a video about black people who have white people names. She was a beautiful black girl and her name is Erin. I was like, oh my god, I like Erin. I really love the name Erin. And so I was like, I'm gonna make one of my dragon girls be D Arena. So it's like D with the apostrophe. I'm gonna put it right here, but that's her name and it's Darina. So you hear the D Rena. So it's like the E is there, but it's not really there. Darina. I don't know. Let me know. Do you think that's I think that's a really, really beautiful name. I don't remember what my guy name is, but you'll see his name tomorrow when I do my character profile. So I know I went on a little rampage and I did a lot of talking, but it's Friday. I'm gonna watch Arrogant and I'm gonna go crochet some granny squares because I'm making a blanket. I don't know if you were here long enough, you're gonna know I love blankets. I'm obsessed. So enjoy your Friday night. It's currently windy where I'm at. We get a lot of snow here. All the snow is gone, but enjoy your Friday. Alright, so I kind of have some good news. So I spent the most of this afternoon just basically filling out my magic system. And I don't know if I mentioned earlier, it in my world I wanted, because there's 3 continents, on each continent I wanted the werewolf and the witch's powers to be a little bit different. So I also went ahead and worked on that. Now it is the last day today because all I have is 2 character profiles I need to do, and so I'm gonna rearrange, like basically move my desk. I don't know, I probably want to do like a screen record thingy, but I don't know, because I do want you guys to see me do the character profile, and also do want to talk to you guys while I'm doing that. So we're gonna figure it out, and then we're gonna work on our 2 character profile, which is our 2 dragons, which are the only people that I need to add to the story, and then we can get right in. So it is hours since we've last spoken. I'm a little exhausted to be honest. So I've spent the last 2 hours just trying to do like a screen record thing. The audio would not take. A bunch of stuff happened, and then I finally just decided I'm just gonna write it in. So and I've had dinner like hours ago and I feel like I need a snack. So I'm gonna go get, like, my mom bought these little fruit pops. It's like fruit fudges, like, or fruit popsicles, something along that line. Also, if you guys want to know how I do my character profile thingamajig, I will be making a video. I'm doing a series creating Project Downfall where I share how I create this novel I'm currently working on. So I will definitely be sharing that in the future just to get that out there. That probably won't be until, I don't know, the next 2 months. But rest assured, I will definitely share my writing profile, my character profile. So I did my main guy, and if you've been here long enough, you know how I like to say I'm a winger. I just wing it. I do a little bit. What do you call it? I'm a plotter and a planster. So I was writing like the backstory for my main characters. When I go into my novels, I know what I want the plot of the story to be like, but I wait up until the moment that I'm writing their backstory to put in their backstory, and you're gonna do what works best for you. And since I've been writing novels and I've been doing it that way, I've never written a backstory that I wasn't pleased with, because in that moment when I start writing, it's like everything just flows for me. It's like I didn't know what was gonna be the backstory for my dragon guy, which is Durain Dragonis. And now like I have like enough backstory to for like 2,000 years. That's probably exaggerated, but I do have like a lot of backstory for him. And in doing his backstory, I now know what drives him. So I'm gonna do his sister, and then we're just gonna wrap up this video. But I'm gonna go get my popsicle thingy. So we are at the end of this video. I did finish my character profile for both my dragons, and I did the backstory for them, which is really really cool. So I don't know. I have I still have like a few things to do in terms of the world building aspect, because I still have like the food to do, or the clothing and stuff, but I'm just gonna do that like when it approaches. And so let me know when you are plotting your novel, do you do a full world building? Do you do like world building if you write fantasy, um or do you write the novel and then do it? Because I've done it both ways, and it's fine either ways, because even when I plot stuff out like this, I still discover things as I go along. So if you've enjoyed this video, there's some aspect of this video which I will make like a more in-depth tutorial of. Like I will be making a video on how to do world building, like a world building 101. I'll do like a how to do world building magic system, like, and I'll show you how to create like a magic system. Like, so that's like a world building 101 magic system edition. I'll also show you how to do like like your character profile to make your character, turn your characters into people. I'll also be doing that. I do have a video that will be released, I guess it's probably after this, about like how to turn your idea into a book. So definitely subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos. And thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful year, month, week, day, hour, minute, second. I'll see you in another one. Bye.